importance of the four. And in Masonry, they have the 4 points of entrance, which is prudence, temperance, fortitude, and justice. So 4 is a foundation. And let's go to the cross now, because we find in the Bible where it says that in the book of Job, it says that Satan was walking up and down, to and fro. There's 4 directions, right? Up, down, to and fro. In the Holy Quran, Iblis said he would come to Allah's man, he would come to the human being from before him, from behind him, from his left, and from his right. Is that right? That's 4 directions. It also says, we also know that we have north, east, south, west. Up, down, left, right. 4. The Holy Quran says that Abraham wanted to know how the dead would be raised. Allah said, take 4 birds, or 4 portions of a bird, place it on 4 mountains, and call it, and it will return to you. So we see the importance of the 4, the foundational number. 4 is very important. How do you enter Egypt? On 4. How do we come into this world? After we land, we come in on 4. How did America start out? They wanted 4 freedoms, and they established their educational institution. So we see the importance of the 4. And in our religion, we have 4 rak'ahs for 3 of our sets of prayers. So Allahu Akbar, we're establishing that, and we'll tie that in to our history too, God willing. So we have the cross. Now, this cross is not just a symbol of slavery, suffering, and death. It's a universal symbol. It points in all 4 directions. And we as human beings, we form a cross, right? We do like this. We form a cross. Now, in masonry and in geometry, they tell us about the simple square, the working tool. The working tool of a building is a square. It looks like an L. Right? Now, in here is 90 degrees. The 90-degree angle. That's what this square is, the simple square. Now, if you look at this cross, you really see 4 of those. You see right here is one of the squares. Right here is another one of the squares. There's 90 degrees here, 90 degrees there. Then here, there's another one, and here there's another one. What you really see is 360 degrees. Because 4 times 90 is 360 degrees. Do you understand, brothers and sisters? That's right. So 360 degrees is a circle. 360 degrees is a circle. Now, those who have studied a little bit about the pyramids, they know that what the Western world is baffled by is that the foundation, the base of that pyramid, is so perfectly squared, it equals 360 degrees. They have squared the circle. All 4 of those corners are 90-degree angles. So at the foundation, we have 4. Now, in Christianity, they tell us that a man was crucified on the cross. They said that there was a cross, a wooden cross, and then they took a man and they nailed him on the cross in the form of a cross. 2 crosses. Now, let us consider that, but we're still on the 4. They say that they nailed Jesus to the cross. That's what they teach in Christianity. We don't teach that in Islam. They nailed him on the cross. What can we understand from that? I said we form a cross, right? And we have nails in our hands, called fingernails. We have nails in our feet, called toenails. If we form a cross, we are nailed to the cross.
Walk away.
Is that right? Now, that's not taking anything from that. We're just trying to think about some things. Now, they say he was nailed to the cross. Meaning what? How can we understand that? That his movement, they wanted to restrict his movement. They did not want the message that Jesus was bringing to go in the 4 directions. They stopped it, they tried to stop it everywhere. They tried to stop it in the north. They tried to stop it in the south, in the east, and in the west. So they tried to restrict his movement. And what did he say to his disciples? First he told them to go in one place. He said, don't go all over the world. Just go to the lost sheep in the house of Israel. But then at the end, he said, take it all over the world. And we know in Al-Islam, the universal messenger, Prophet Muhammad, that's what he's called, a universal messenger. The seal of the prophets, he took his message all over the world. So now we have that course, that's our fourth. Allahu Akbar. Now, we say it started from 4, and keep in mind the 4 educational points in Masonry, the 4 points of entrance. Now we move on up to 2, because we crawl on 4, then we stand up as 2. What are the 2? The material and the spiritual, the balance. If you look at that dollar, you have a bird that flies in the sky, and you have a pyramid on the earth. Material and spiritual. But what else do we have? In Masonry, they have 2 columns that are very important, that they say was at the porchway of Solomon's temple. One called Boaz, B-O-A-Z, and the other one is Yachin, J-A-C-H-I-N. And they say these 2 together represent a promise that God made to David that he would establish his kingdom in strength. But on one of the columns, there's a circle which represents the terrestrial, the earth. And there's another one on the other pillar which represents the celestial, the heavens. So you have Boaz and Yachin. And on their first grip, when they shake hands on the knuckle, it's called Boaz. And on the other knuckle is Yachin. But let us keep moving. We as human beings, we have a conscious and a subconscious. We have 2 ears, but we hear one thing. We have 2 eyes, but we have one vision. We have 2 nostrils, but we smell one thing. We have 2 hands, we have 2 feet. And in the religion of Islam, Allah tells in the Quran that there's an angel on our right and an angel on our left, recording all our actions and our deeds. And the Bible tells us in the Transfiguration that Jesus took some of his disciples up on a mountain. And they saw 2 lights. One of Elijah and one of Moses. And the lights came together to form one. So we see this importance of the material and the spiritual. So we see 2. That's balance. Now, how do it relate to African American? Because we need all of those things. We need a good solid foundation, a rooted foundation. We need to have material and spiritual concerns, material and spiritual progress. And we need to develop ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. All of these things is what is needed in our life. Allahu Akbar. Let me give a little definition here so you have a little better understanding of Masonry, what we say Masonry. There's basically 2 types. There's 2 types of Masonry. One is called operative Masonry. And that is the one that operates in our physical life. That's the physical mason, the physical bricklayer, the one who used the physical square, the plumb, the level, the mallet. The one who does the physical building, who builds these buildings here physically, is operative mason. Freemasonry, the other one is called speculative mason. That is spiritual. They have taken the definitions, the terms, from the physical mason and given it spiritual meaning. For example, one of the working tools of a mason is, let's say, the plumb. It's a straight line. It proves the perpendicular. That line represents upright thinking and spiritual or speculative mason. Whereas your level is used for balancing, to make sure that the horizontal part of the house or that corner is balanced, is level. But on a spiritual level, that represents equality, balance, equality. So operative masonry is the physical mason. Speculative is the spiritual mason, the building of man and society, building something without the use of hammers and nails. So when we talk about Freemasonry, we're talking about speculative masonry. We're talking about those who have taken some of the tools, some of the language of the operative mason and given it spiritual meaning. Now, so you'll understand, hopefully we'll understand even more. Freemasonry. We know free means without restriction, without denial. And a mason is a builder. So a Freemason is one who should be free to build. Free to build himself, free to build his character. Prophet Muhammad, Allah said to them, tell them, you are a free man in the city. So what do we get from this? That we should always, never allow nothing to restrict us from building ourselves, from building our character, from building our personality, from building our families. We should not allow anything to enslave us against that. We should seek to build ourselves, build our family, build our community. That's what we should seek to do. Allahu Akbar. Let me give a couple of reasons, maybe 4 reasons, why we should examine Freemasonry. You say, why should this brother, he's not a Mason, it's Muslims, why should they be talking about Freemasonry? Leave that to the Masons to talk about. You're not in our order, you shouldn't be talking about that. Well, if you're willing to come out in the public and talk about it, I'll sit down. But I don't think you can do that. Now, that's not an offense. I'm just saying, if you would do that, then fine. I wouldn't do it. But I do believe there's some information that should be and need to be shared with our people. Now, there are some reasons. Let me give some reasons why we would look into this, why we would study this or examine it. 4 good reasons, is which we have discussed, and that is that much of it is traced back to Africa. They say they're traveling to the east, and they associate a lot of it with ancient Egypt, and that's where we're from. We're African Americans. I mean, that's where we came from. That's our home, motherland. So that automatically says, hey, if it came from our land, then we have a right to look at it. Another reason is that many of our African American leaders now, those who say they represent us, our social leaders, our political leaders, our economic leaders, many of them, our religious leaders, are part of the Masonic order. So that's another good reason. Our leaders, our representatives. So they say, let's see what this is about. Not that we have to join, but to be somewhat informed. Another reason is that most, if not all, of the original founding fathers, George Washington and others of this land, were Masons. They came over from England. Many of those who led the Boston Tea Party, etc., the leaders of the colonies, were Masons. And at a certain level in their Masonic development, when they become what they call Shriners, they make a connection with Islam. They receive the Quran, their greetings is Assalamu alaikum. They use the term Allah, Mecca, Medina. They wear fezzes. They have the Islamic names. They learn things about our religion. They go through certain rituals in the shrine house pertaining to some of our Islamic rituals. So I think those 4 good reasons to at least find out something about that. 4 good reasons. Now let me just examine the fact that it is Islamic connection. As a Shriner, those with the pheasants, the red pheasants, they say they are traveling from west to east across the burning sands to worship at the shrine of Islam. They say Assalamu alaikum. They learn about the Kaaba. Now that could mean there's an interest there, and if there's an interest there, then Muslims should talk to those that are interested in our religion. So if you're a Shriner and you get a glimpse of Islam, feel free to talk to those who really practice Islam if you're sincere about that. And we can help you along in your Islamic knowledge. And that's what we hope to do. That's what we're trying to do also. So let us move on. Okay, we have a few more symbols. Let me say this: square and a circle. Muslims, we look to Mecca, we look to Kaaba, we turn in the direction of the Kaaba for prayer. That's our orientation, our Qibla. The Quran, the Muslim books say turn from wherever you are in the direction of the sacred house, the Kaaba, built by Abraham and his son Ishmael. And there you see a cube-shaped building, a square, sitting in a circle. And we make 7 circles around it. So that's a symbol, a square and a circle. And as we pointed out, one thing that square, among others, represent is material, the foundation. The home life is the foundation. And it say, turn from wherever you are in the direction of that house. Wherever you are, always remember and respect your family. Always look at your family. That's the cornerstone of society, the family. That's why they broke up our family. And that uprooted our foundation. They broke up the family. Now that circle, that's movement, because all circles, everything that's circular, can move. It can roll. The heavenly bodies look circular. The highest form on our body, our head, is circular. So the circle is the movement, the spiritual. So you have a material and spiritual connection. That we should have a material concern, and it should be checked by our spiritual appetites. Now, for Masonry, this is a Masonic symbol here. It's a point in a circle. And those 2 lines represent, and that line over top, this is really a scripture, the scripture flying over top. And in our community, when Allah blessed us to change from the old nation of Islam into universal El-Islam, after the death of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and when his son, Imam Wafdi Muhammad, came into leadership, he removed the star and the crescent, and he put up a flying book, the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran is the highest source of knowledge in our life. So that's that flying scripture. But here in Masonry, that's that scripture also. It represents the scripture. It represents the Bible. Or if they're in an Eastern country, it will be the Quran, wherever that holy scripture is. Masons use different holy books, depending on where you're at. So that represents the scripture. The point in the circle represents an individual brother, an individual human being who is staying within the bounds of his passions. He has circumscribed his passions. He's in the bounds of his passions. And as Muslims, that's what we're told, to control our passions. And during the fast of Ramadan, That teaches us discipline and self-restraint. And you Masons call that crossing the burning sands. The heat of passion, to control the pull of the passions. As the brother spoke earlier, Brother Omar, about the sex, this overzealous ideal about just sex. Well, to control the passion for sex, alcohol, or whatever it is. But to have charge of your passions, to stay within the bounds. Now those two lines represent John the Baptist and John the Revelator. John the Baptist and John the Revelator. Now we know that once you are baptized or immersed in the knowledge, you sprinkle water, once you're immersed in the knowledge, then the Revelator, you have to reveal it. Once you get the knowledge, you have to reveal the knowledge. When we get information, we ought to take it and share it with the people. That's what we should be thinking of, getting information, getting knowledge, and sharing it with the people. That's what that symbol represents there. Now in Masonry, there's 33 degrees. There's a number of degrees there. Originally there was just 3 degrees. Then there was some history, there was some changes, and they kicked it upstairs, made 33 degrees. They expanded it. But the original 3 degrees was represent physical, mental, and spiritual. But anyway, for the 3rd degree, they call Master Mason. And the Master Mason gets him a word as all the others get a word. And that's what they're in search of, as we said, light, the lost word. And to enter is these passwords they have to give. For that particular degree there, the man is raised there, and he has to use the word Tubal-Cain from the Bible. Tubal-Cain. And they say that Tubal-Cain was an instructor. He was well versed in the knowledge of brass and iron. And he was an instructor, meaning that he can teach you the knowledge of brass and iron. So that is symbolized by, we go back to those 2 again, 2 balls and a cane. So in Masonry, when you think of Tubal-Cain, you're actually looking at 2 balls and a cane. And you may see that symbol on the back of a card is 2 balls and a cane. Why is that? Iron is heavier. That's material. If I'm correct, brass is more flexible, like the spiritual. So he was an instructor, brothers and sisters, Masons and Shriners. Tubal-Cain, when you get Tubal-Cain as a Master Mason, that means you should be an instructor in spiritual knowledge and in material knowledge, in iron and brass. But there's a cane there. The cane is the support, the staff that Moses had. Moses had a staff. When he left Egypt and went up to the mountain, God said, throw down that staff. And when he threw it down, it turned to a serpent. And he jumped back a few steps. And then God told him to put his hand into his bosom here. And he pulled it out, it turned white. And he put it back in, it turned to its natural form. And I think he was also told to take the water and pour it, and it turned to blood. So that staff was his support. How do we say staff to support? In business, you have line and staff. In the masjids and in the churches, you have the reverend and you have his staff. His staff supports him. His staff helps him. So he had a staff. So 2 balls and a cane. Tubal-Cain. and his supporters. Allahu Akbar. Let us keep moving now. Just throwing a few things out here. The Master Mason really, majority of the Masons are Master Masons. Some don't even feel they have to go beyond that. He is one who should have mastered himself, mastered his passions, etc. He should have control of himself, of his environment. He is has been what you call raised. In the old nation of Islam, that's some of the language we used to use. I've been raised. I was blind, deaf, and dumb, but now when I heard the teachings, I was raised. So he's raised like they say Jesus was raised, from a dead level, this horizontal level, to a living upright perpendicular. And they say to the square. Okay, brothers and sisters, let me move to another area, because I don't want to belabor these symbols, because there's a story that's very important in Masonry that we could really see the connections to as I'm building up to it. As we said, there's signs, the symbols, the angles, the squares, triangles, circles, etc. We see them everywhere. You know, so much be coming to you at one time when you're talking. And I have an outline here. I go to it, then I leave it, then I try to go back to it. But so much you're trying to get at one time. A few things to think about. We know that the Masonic order goes to 33 degrees. Straighten. As Masons do, bricklayers, to put their tools in. On that first degree, his bib, and this is really a shabby job, but the bib is up. He's an entered apprentice who comes in, his bib is up. But it's shaped with a triangle and a square. The square at the bottom, and the top part is triangle. Physical, mental, and spiritual, or it was a symbol of God in ancient times, or the spirit. Okay, real quick again. The Masons, they wear aprons, as Masons do, bricklayers, to put their tools in. On that first degree, his bib, and this is really a shabby job, but the bib is up. He's an entered apprentice who comes in, his bib is up. But it's shaped with a triangle and a square. The square at the bottom and the top part is triangle. Physical, mental, and spiritual, or it was a symbol of God in ancient times, or the spiritual. And this was the material here. Man, when you first come into Masonry, when you first start out, you haven't received spiritual insight. So the bib is not inside, it's up. You have the knowledge is not folded into. Like the Bible says, God breathed into him the breath of life and became a living soul. That hasn't happened yet on that first degree. But then on the second degree, now this is material if you haven't gotten that. Some on a portion of it, the bib Meaning he's moved from material, just all material, and he has received some insight, some rational knowledge, some insight. So the portion of it is inside of that square now. But when he becomes a master mason, the whole triangle goes right inside. And when you think about it, a square is 4 lines, a triangle is 3, and 3 and 4 is 7. So then he's supposed to be a complete man. He's complete. At 7 days in a week, we notice that God created everything in 7 days. And we know in the Quran we have 7 oft-repeated verses. We know it says there's 7 gates to heaven, 7 gates to hell. The prophet ascended to the 7th heaven. 7 is completion. And they say there were 3, 5, and 7 steps leading up into Solomon's temple. Now, here the straight line, if we would say anything that is, they say from a dead level to a living perpendicular, that's horizontal. Anything that's laying flat, horizontal, is either dead, sleep, resting, or sick. Right? It's horizontal, laying this way, straight line across. A person who is not informed, his mind is laying flat, is dead. Just one way across. Just materialism. Now, but as a tool on the next level, you'll get a square, which we talked about this here, which is really this here, straight line with this. So there's been movement, there's been growth, development. So he moved from a horizontal line to the perpendicular. And the Masons know that on the 2nd degree, the fellow craft, his tool is the square. On the 1st degree, his tool is the 24-inch gauge, which is a straight line, 24-inch gauge, and a common gallon. But on the next degree, it's the square. So we move from horizontal to perpendicular. Growth, development, movement. But then as a master mason, he's working tools as the plumb, the level, the square, all of the tools. And each of these things represents some knowledge. We can go into all of it now, all of the symbols, but they represent some knowledge. Now, when he goes all the way up to what they call 33 degrees, what do we get? What do we find at 33? They believe it is taught that Jesus lived to 33 degrees, to 33, 32, or 33. Also, in what they call raw arch masonry, they work with the threes too. They say 3 by 3